Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. I am your host, Rudolph, joined as always by AJ Haefele. And as free agency finally seems to have slowed down to a bit of a trickle, we figured it was time to take a look not just at the Avs, but at the rest of the Central Division. How the Avs' main opponents in the regular season, well, let's be honest, AJ, none of them really got better, did they?
Yeah, and I think that this is going to be even more important with a shortened season. We're going to have a division-heavy schedule. Certainly like a West-heavy schedule where there probably won't be a lot of travel out east. So I think that it's an even more important offseason for taking a look around and seeing what the Central Division got going on. I do have to say that that opening song gave me serious Castlevania vibes.
With the 8-bit version?
Yeah, I felt like I was like roaming through with the whip.
Well,
killing bats and stuff.
I guess Castlevania is pretty Slayer. That's true.
Yeah.
No arguments there. Okay. So let's start with the team that isn't technically in the Central Division yet, AJ. The Arizona Coyotes. They will be joining the Central Division very soon. Not next season, but get used to it because they're coming. Out of all the teams in the Central Division, they may have done the least. They made no real trades, and their biggest signing so far has been Johan Larsson to a 2-year, $1.4 million deal.
A deal that doesn't even make sense for them.
Yep.
That and the Tyler Pitlick deal.
Yep.
They just don't like Arizona needs to be adding talent. You know, and like they need to be bulking up. They need to be trying to get better. They're not in a position to be like, oh, we're going to have a really effective third or fourth line and watch us go, because it's going to be like, who cares?
I mean, part of their problem is that they couldn't move anything out, right? There was all the talk about Ekman Larsson getting moved out. He stayed. Yeah. There's all this talk about Derek Stepan on the last year of his deal. He stayed.
Mm-hmm.
So they're less than $2 million. Yeah, they're less than $2 million away from the cap with these minor signings that they've made in free agency. And it just doesn't look pretty.
Yeah, they haven't done anything. And you know, I was kind of surprised that they haven't been able to move the Hossa contract.
Yeah.
$1 million in salary, counting against $5 million against the cap. I mean, you would think that's Eugene Melnyk would have been prioritized getting out of Arizona. But they haven't been able to do anything. I'm a little shocked, honestly, that they managed to get two guys to say yes
to deal
to playing for them.
Yeah.
If you were a free agent and you were looking at this market right now, that's probably not a place that you want to be going.
Nope.
It ended so poorly, and then things got toxic immediately. The owner misses bonus payments, which is one of those things where it's like,
lose a lot of faith real quick.
Players and agents are going to let everybody else know coming in, like, hey, this just happened.
Yep.
You know, this was an owner who hasn't been owner for very long, who was turned down by the NBA because they were worried about cash flow problems.
Yep. And
it's already rearing its head. And like, obviously, pandemic is going to make life harder for a lot of people. But you know, it's created a toxic situation in Arizona already.
And
every time they get an owner who's like, we're going to spend money, we're going to invest, we're going to do that,
it seems to fall apart on them.
Oh, just doesn't seem to work out.
So, and I'm looking at their roster. They have 12 forwards signed. They have 7 defensemen, 8 defensemen even signed, 2 goalies as well. So it's not like they have a ton of roster room either. The only way they can get better is by moving pieces out.
Yeah, and boy, they're set to lose their entire defense.
Yep.
Next offseason.
Yep. 5 of their defense are unrestricted free agents next year. So
Yeah. All they've got are Ekman, Larson, and Chikrin. And of their defense, those are the right guys to have signed. But still, man, they've done nothing. There's so little faith that they're going to be even competitive.
yeah, I'm with you on that. But they're not in the Central Division yet. We'll see.
Yeah,
how things shake out with the way the NHL wants to run their regular season this year. But
yeah, just worth keeping an eye on because this is their last season in the Pacific. They will be moving over into the Central. That's why we decided to include them. Did they do anything? I mean, I guess Tyler Pitlick is coming. Johan Larson is coming to the Central. So,
wahoo! Maybe one a little bit more relevant to the Avs. Then let's take a look at Chicago. Obviously, Avs already know the Zadorov for Saad trade, a big part of their offseason. One that everyone's siding with the Avs on pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? Until you see what Zadorov's role is expected to be there, this just seems an obvious one to me.
Yep.
That defense continues to be bad, and they went and they got a wildly inconsistent player.
And at this point, all they've done is they gave him his qualifying offer. They didn't commit to him long term or anything yet. So
yeah, and they've got 1 year. He's an RFA again next season. That'll be his last year of RFA before he's a UFA. So they get to find out how they feel about Nikita Zadorov as a Chicago Blackhawk.
Yep. Yeah, beyond him, I mean, they took care of some in-house business, giving Kubalik 2 years. But beyond that, their only other real significant signing was Matthias Janmark on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, that was the guy that there was a lot of smoke on the opening of free agency.
Yep.
Colorado's going after this guy and Toronto's going after this guy. There were 5 teams connected to him. 4 days passed and his name doesn't even get mentioned again. And then he just quietly signs in Chicago for 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly, that seems like the case for a lot of guys, especially in that middle class this offseason.
Yeah, those bottom 6 forwards really got the hammer dropped on them.
Yep.
I will that Kubalik contract has the potential to be fantastic.
Yeah, if he keeps it up, he's a 30-goal scorer again these next 2 years.
Yeah, and he was great for them in the playoffs too.
Yep.
Well, he was great for them against Edmonton. He was nothing against Vegas.
The Blackhawks were nothing against Vegas, kind of. So
right, but they are an offense first team at this point, and that guy was a big part of it. And he just didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not gonna argue on that one. My problem here is you got rid of Brandon Saad for Nikita Zadorov. Does that make their defense better than it was? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you go out and get Matthias Janmark. You definitely lost something on the offensive side if you're sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Brandon Saad to Matthias Janmark is a loss up front, and Nikita Zadorov for nothing is a gain on the back end. Where they really lost is that Corey Crawford left, and their goalies are a combination of Colin Delia
is your starter right now,
Malcolm Subban, and this guy Kevin Lankinen, who they apparently really like,
but has no NHL experience.
Right, and okay, he's got a couple of seasons in the AHL. 40 whole games played in the AHL with they're okay results. They're not great. They're not bad. We're just going to see. The organization likes him and they want to roll the dice and see what they have with them. Great. It's your organization.
They already know Delia and Subban are at best nothing special in the NHL.
Definitely. Those are both backups, which is why they both have hard backup contracts.
Right.
So hard backup variable contracts.
You're asking a team who is still going to play offense first You're asking that goalie to backstop them to winning games like 5-4, basically.
Yeah. Seriously, I mean, they're banking on Kane continuing to do his thing, Taves being fine, DeBrincat having a little bit of a bounce back now that he's on his expensive bridge, Kubalik to do his thing, and then a step forward from Kirby Dach, because they need to be a dominant offensive team to be competitive.
Yep, they still do need to sign Dylan Strome. They have the cap space. Shouldn't be a big deal. It's just a little bit more work that they have to do. Again, this is a team that it doesn't feel like they got much better, if they got better at all.
Yeah, they were the 12th seed in the West, and you cannot make a strong argument that they are legitimately better today.
That's
I forgot they did move out Oli Mata.
I forgot as well, because
Oli Mata is also better than Nikita Zadorov. So,
and they basically gave him away for Brad Morrison.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's one of those guys where you're like, are you sure that that's a real person?
He had 20 points in 50 AHL games last year when he wasn't playing in the ECHL.
It's such a witness protection style name.
Man, they even retained on Mata. So
yeah. I wonder how they came to that total.
That's crazy. Zadorov with the retention on Mata is essentially the same price. They didn't even save any money.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of hate sent Stan Bowman's way, and I think it's all justified.
Warranted.
Like, I will say though, man, I think they've got a decent player in Dylan Strome. Like,
I think he's a decent player too. He's blossomed there, but
is he ever going to live up to 3rd overall from an all-time great draft? No,
not a chance.
But
there's no way Cam makes their lineup this year. He'll be in the AHL, but
yeah, he and Brad can literally fight it out for best Morrison.
Well, do they have any other real graduations? Let's see. I can't imagine.
It really kind of. I mean, they signed Pia Suter to come over from the NLA, and that was the guy that I had loved for years, and was like, I even talked about him on this podcast, and then for some reason he came across the pond and was like, I'm gonna sign in Chicago, and it's like, God, why do all these guys sign in Chicago?
Yeah, doesn't. I mean, I guess they could play Anton Lindholm in the NHL, but
it's not really a graduation. I mean, what's Nick Bowden up to?
Yeah,
he played a bunch of games in the AHL last year.
He played his one game in the NHL. Maybe they're looking at playing him, but
no. Do you remember Chad Chris? Do you remember all the hype around that guy when he was drafted? And he was coming out of the development program. And he was like, oh, he's this super small puck mover and all that. And then it's like, he's been like, okay.
There were so many D on that NTDP team that were overrated, man. Anyway, without getting too far off topic, we do need to take our first break here. BK Avs, we use a program called StreamYard. Probably not great if you're looking for film screening, but it works nice for talking about podcasts. Anyway, Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. Their new beer, the Palisade Peach Wheat, is delicious. It's true Colorado style. If you haven't had Palisade Peaches and you're living in Colorado, well, you're just doing it wrong at this point. That's just a fact. And now you can get it in a delicious beer as well. If that's not your style, they have a beer for everyone, whether it be down at the farmhouse or over at the DNVR bar on tap, or even in a local liquor store near you. Use the DNVR beer locator, or rather Breckenridge Brew beer locator, to find whatever type of beer you're looking for. And of course, Wgt Golf, our favorite online golf game, loved by more than 20 million players around the world. Keep your eyes peeled. If you won the DNVR major, we need to find you to pay you money.
Yeah, if you're one of our top three, I believe we owe you stuff.
So
that is if you are any of Nick Denver, Jason J. Lunn, or UK Bronco 76, you got to get in touch with us.
We need to give you your prizes.
Yeah,
so
we're trying to give you money.
So let us know where you're at so we can give you what you guys earned in our last payout tournament. And if you haven't joined, be sure to jump in, go to dnvrgolf.com and search for DNVR3 to join our third clubhouse and get your chance to win some cool stuff in our tournaments in the future. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. Let's just keep on moving down the line here. Next up in the Central Division, we'll skip the Avs because, we've talked about them a lot, but you have the Dallas Stars. Obviously went to the Stanley Cup Finals and came up a little bit short. We talked about them a little bit before. Expectations were they might try and keep the band together to make another run at this if they did lose in the finals. They brought back Khudobin. They gave Faxa and RFA a significant extension as well. Kept Sekera around. A lot of just trying to keep it together.
Yeah, and I guess when you come within 2 games of winning the Stanley Cup, you can make the argument of why not just run it back.
You can make that argument. I'm not going to agree with it, though.
I'm just saying, like, you give a nice raise to the guy that got you there in Anton Khudobin. You're now paying, $8 million to your goaltending tandem. That's fine. You're still paying $450,000 to Val Nichushkin to play for your division rival.
Yep.
So, good call. Pysyk wasn't bad. He's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Add a depth defenseman there.
But it's like all the positions to add depth to. That was the one that they... Okay.
Right. They already had Klingberg, Lindell, Heiskanen. They had brought back Sekera at that point.
Yeah. They've got RFA deals for Rupe Hintz and Dennis Gurionov that they need to figure out.
With a little less than $7 million in cap space left.
And both of those guys should take that. They should chew that up easily.
Yep. Gurionov especially is going to...
Whoa, when did Roddick Fox get this deal?
A couple days ago.
October 11th. He got a 5-year deal?
Yep.
They gave that dude 5 years?
Yep. At 3.25, though. It's not like it's crazy expensive.
With a modified no trade clause.
Yeah, 5 teams.
Yeah, 5 teams is obviously no big deal, but you have okay. This is kind of like the comp for contract last year.
It is,
except he's older. This actually takes
4
years in his 30s.
Yep.
Cool, dude. Whatever. I think Jim Nill sucks. I think I think Dallas is just poorly constructed. I don't think they're very good, and I will continue to eat crow every time they go out and they win games and make me look like an idiot.
This is we were talking off air the other day, and everyone in the conversation agreed, run back that playoff series and the Avs will take it 10 times out of 10.
If I could guarantee right now that the Avs got Dallas in the second round again, I would take it.
Yep. The Avs would happily play that series back, assuming a little bit more health. Honestly, even without a little bit more health, there's a decent chance they can win it. But getting a little bit out of the what-if territory there.
That's just look. That's how I feel about Dallas. You can disagree. You can think that the Stars have some magical elixir that they know how to beat the Avs. Ooh, they got the voodoo. I got a funny feeling it's probably just a 1-year thing where, people want to try and combine the regular season with the postseason, despite there being a 6-month break between the two. Whatever. I don't think that I like Colorado's chances against Dallas. I don't think that this. I don't think it was physicality. I think Colorado got an 862 goaltender through the first 5 games. And
if the Yavs get 900 goaltending, they're up 3-1 in that series, and they put it away, basically.
Through the first 4 games, I'm sorry. And I would 100% take my chances with Philip Grubauer against Dallas in that playoff series again.
Yep.
Now, totally fair, if Ben Bishop is healthy, and he's like Ben Bishop again, that he's the great equalizer.
Story. Yeah, for sure.
He's the great equalizer, but Anton
on Ben Bishop to be healthy is a choice.
You give me Anton Khudobin not even having a 900 save percentage again. I'll take Colorado's chances. I just will.
For sure. All right. Next up, as we continue down the list here, because Dallas didn't make any trades either. So
yeah, and this is kind of the theme of the Central so far, is that just haven't done much.
Yep. Well, Minnesota has done some stuff.
They're arguably the most active team.
I think so.
The division.
Probably, because Colorado was active in the trade market, but they didn't sign any free agents.
Right, but it was really just 2 trades.
Yep. So, probably the most active. First of all, in the trade market, obviously they moved Dubnyk. They also moved out Luke Kunin for Nick Bonino. A bunch of pick trades as well. So, and that's right, Donato went to the Sharks as well. And then even a little bit earlier in the offseason, they did the Stahl for Johansson swap.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the Bukestad. They went and got Bukestad. They got rid of Stahl. They got rid of Donato. They got rid of Dubnyk, and they got rid of Kunin.
And they got
Bonino.
Look, you move out Dubnyk, you move out Donato.
Whatever.
You're screaming like we're just going to dump a bunch of stuff and tank here, but then you trade Kunin, one of your younger players. You do have to sign him, but you trade him for Nick Bonino.
Yeah, and like Nick Bonino coming off of career year, Nick Bonino.
Yep.
Where his value was going to be at its highest.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, he's 32 years old and he's 1 year from free agency. Once again. How does this help you? Like, yes, it gives you a body to put at center, apparently along with Marcus Johansson, that you're trying to make work. But is he your number 1C? Did he just go from the third line center in Nashville to the first line center in Minnesota?
It certainly seems like it. They haven't gone out and gotten a top end C in free agency or anything. So
right, because right now it's like Eriksson Ek. I guess if they wanted to put Bukestad back at center, they could put Bukestad back at center. Bonino, Johansson. Yeah.
That's their down the middle. Well, not great. Not a great look in any sense of the word.
Is this the be a GM mode where you just get really drunk and you actually can't read the numbers on the screen when you start making trades?
And their big offseason signings weren't forwards. They went out and got Cam Talbot to replace Devin Dubnyk. And then on the defensive side, they extended Carson Soucy for 3 years.
Had a great draft, though.
They did. Their draft was great, but
Rossi and Kuznetsov.
That doesn't matter for them at all in this coming season, does it?
Maybe. I mean,
you think they throw Rossi to the Wolves?
We're talking about they don't have any centers.
Yeah, maybe.
Rossi's maybe Rossi and Kuznetsov are their 1 and 2 C's. Maybe that was their answer.
I'm excited to play Minnesota either way. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know that Zach Parise is going to be quite as yappy as he has been in previous years. Because when it's 4-0 at the end of the first period, and it's like, y'all at the bottom of the standings, you sure you want to start talking, Zach?
I wonder how Zuccarello feels about that contract right about now.
Yeah, he's probably wishing he was a little more human and a little less lizard.
And that's the other thing. The Wild have, at the end of the 21 season, They have 4 UFAs and 4 RFAs in their forward core that they have to sign.
Yeah.
So they left themselves a lot of work to do next year as well.
It's interesting because like we're looking at this roster and like we're like right now I feel like this is just the dunk contest in the NBA All-Star game.
A little bit, yeah.
And like we're not taking these guys seriously whatsoever, but you can see the path for them to turn it, to flip all of this. You know, Johansson, Bonino, they all leave, you know, Marcus Foligno, Nick Bjugstad, those guys can all leave as UFAs.
I totally see the path. They just have to go through the nuclear winter first.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. And like, but if you're gonna have a nuclear winter, kind of like when Colorado picked first overall in 2013, do it in a shortened season.
Yeah,
none of us,
that's true.
None of us ever talk about like the pain of the 2013 season because
it was over
48
fast enough.
games. It was over in the blink of an eye, and they finished second to last. None of us gave a shit. They won the lottery, jumped up to 1, and took McKinnon, and we were like, cool.
All right.
But it feels, every one of us remembers what it was like crawling bare-ass naked through a field of broken glass to get to the Cale Makar draft.
The pain of that season was only beginning at game 48.
Oh, my God. No kidding, man.
So
no kidding. It was awful, dude. But like they're set up because you look like Kevin Fiala just had the year that Nashville waited for.
Yep.
Like he just had the big breakout that they'd been waiting for. They finally got Kirill Kaprizov to come across from Russia.
Yep.
Like that. They've got Matt Boldy. They've got Kuznetsov. They've got Marco Rossi. Like
the next wave is coming.
Very quietly, they've got some dudes who are coming for that roster. So, like, we need to. I'm just saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to turn around and all be all stars, and that every one of those guys is going to hit and be at their highest level or whatever, right? But very quietly, they've got some dudes who are on the way, and they're going to be bad again this year. This next draft class is going to be very D heavy. So they're set up to replace Matt Dumbo, whom they're going to have to trade before the expansion draft because all their NMCs leave him as the odd man out.
Yep.
Or, I mean, they probably could just go 4-4.
Yeah, they might get away with 4-4. I think, yes, Connor, the expectation is you'll probably see Johansson, Bonino, probably even Foligno and Bjugstad shopped heavily at the deadline this year.
They could shop other young guys too. They could shop an Eriksson Ek. They could shop a Ryan Hartman
for sure. Could be shopped. Yep.
Ryan Hartman is exactly that kind of sandpapery, you know, turbo asshole that teams love to get at the deadline to
went for a first round pick once upon a time
to amp themselves up. But Hartman is also a guy where you have to wonder, like, is there something wrong with him?
Yeah.
Because he got drafted by his hometown team, who then sent him to Nashville. Nashville kept him for exactly a year. They got him at the deadline. They moved him at the next deadline to Philly, and Philly was like, whoa, we're good.
Sometimes when you're a turbo asshole, you can't direct it enough.
Yeah, like the funny thing is about those guys is that a lot of them you hear about how they're the nicest guys off the ice. If you can't turn it off the ice, like,
yeah,
locker rooms don't want you in them.
Yep. So,
yeah, and that's just me probably taking an unfair shot at somebody that I don't know personally in any way whatsoever. But you do, like, when you're looking at it, like, these are the guys that you try and pry out of there. Nobody's going to try and take the Parise or Zuccarello deal off their hands unless it is like the Parise for Andrew Ladd conversation. Because the Islanders can't afford to have an Andrew Ladd that just isn't in the NHL.
Funny. Yep. All right. Well.
Yeah. Minnesota. LOL for now, but
I'm gonna ride the LOL train until they prove otherwise.
Fair enough.
Next up, St. Louis Blues.
We're skipping Nashville.
Yeah, we can do Nashville. That's fine.
I was just going in alphabetical
Yeah,
order.
so was I, and I just didn't think about it. Went straight to St. Louis. Nashville Predators. Not crazy active. Obviously, they picked up Kunin from abusing the Wild. Other than that, they shipped out Austin Watson for a pick, and that's about it. On the free agent market, they didn't have a ton of money to play with. They basically went out and got 2 bottom pairing defensemen in Matt Benning and Mark Borowiecki.
Mm-hmm.
That's I guess they
kept
picked up
Jared Tenorti.
They kept Jared Tenorti. They picked up old man Brad Richardson.
Cool.
They didn't make any moves where you're going, wow, they made themselves better.
Yeah. Again, got rid of Bonino, who was very effective for them last year for Cunnin, who's a decent young player. They got Nick Cousins, who is a very, very good bottom 6 player. Brad Richardson, same thing, like a good guy, still finding ways, but these are depth moves.
And they left themselves in this weird spot. Now, to be fair, there's a good chance their free agency isn't done.
Yeah, this is a prime landing spot for Mike Hoffman, right?
Well, it is, but I think Mike Hoffman was like their plan C or plan D, as they didn't get Taylor Hall. They didn't get Tyler Toffoli. And they left themselves at one point. It was like $14 million. It's down to $13 million in cap space. Yes, they have to sign Kunin, Fabro, and Tenorti. Or no, they already signed Tenorti. Sorry, they have to sign Kunin to this year, and they'll have to sign Fabro next year.
Yeah,
and
Saros next year. But that's it.
That none of those guys are going to get big raises, so they have $13 million just sitting around right now. Seems like they kind of miss their guy. That's all I'm saying.
That, and they also might have been one of the internal cap teams.
That's true.
We don't talk about Nashville in the same terms as we do like an Ottawa or a Winnipeg, but like that's not a franchise that like they have to pick their spots to go for it. And it's just that over the last 5 years, we've become accustomed to it's their spot.
Yep.
But that's a team that just doesn't. They don't have KSE backing them.
Not hella loaded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's because, I mean, look, there isn't that many guys out there. They actively chose not to keep Granlund around, so he's not really a target for them. Yeah, you have Hoffman. I guess you could have the Galchenyuk conversation if you wanted, but after that, the forwards left out there, are they really going to be targeting a Carl Soderberg? I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, like maybe on a 1-year deal.
If they're desperate.
They give Carl Soderberg hey, come replace Nick Bonino for 1 year at $1 million or something, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
The thing is, though, is that the big thing with Nashville is that the guys that they need to be successful, it's Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, Victor Arvidsson.
It hasn't changed in 4 or 5 years. The guys that they need to break out and be a star in the league are the same dudes that they have been.
The big change will be that they don't have that depth. They don't have Mikael Granlund. They don't have Craig Smith.
Yep. They bought out Kyle Turris.
They're going to need those guys, different levels of effective with the Preds, but replacing Kyle Turris with Brad Richardson is a loss for you.
Yep.
Luke Kunin, we'll see. Like, I really like Luke Kunin in his draft year. Of course I did, because Minnesota took him, but he's only just been like, okay. Yep. Like he's a solid young player that doesn't really move the needle. He plays with some physicality. He's a try-hard. He's got a little bit of skill to him. I mean, he's an NHL player, but is that the guy that unlocks the rest of your roster? Probably not.
Yeah.
It just buoys you from completely bottoming out. Then it's okay. Well, do any of their other young guys make the leap? Are are we finally going to get to see Eli Tolvanen
do the thing? Yeah.
Is Philip Tomasino going to make a jump here?
can't imagine they don't send him back to juniors, but
what about you coming off of a really productive college career? What happens with Patrick Harper, who was a 5th-round pick that was really productive? Can that guy push? They've got some young guys where it's like, okay, well, what's next?
Yeah.
And until some of these guys break in, like, you need Matt Duchene to be a star. You need Ryan Johansson to be a star. The reality is Matt Duchene, 42 points in 66 games last year. He was on his way to a 50-point season, and that's all good and well, but for $8 million, it's nowhere near good enough.
You're not getting value there. Definitely
You're getting
not.
you're getting the Matt Duchene that Colorado got for so many years, where it was just like, all right, like, you're good, but
you're not pushing this team to the next level.
Yeah, you're not elevating, and if you're the best that we have to offer, then we're probably losing games against the really good teams.
Yep.
I just like when you look at the talent on Nashville's roster and you compare it to everyone else in the Central, on paper, Nashville probably the 2nd or 3rd most talented team. Even with losing Craig Smith and even with losing Granlund off that top 6.
I mean, we talked about this a ton last year. The talent hasn't done what it needs to do. Something is wrong in Nashville because it's not producing the way it should.
Right. They've had one of the best core defenses for a decade, and they've done nothing with it. So, it's hard to feel any real way about the Preds, because it's like you want to guard against the fact that, hey, at any time these guys could break out and be amazing again. True. Yep. But at some point,
it's got to be believe it when you see it. After
right,
a while,
the shakeup has to be bigger, because PK Subban for Matt Duchene didn't do it. Now what? And all they've done is take a step back. I would say talent-wise, the division right now, they're probably, I think they're 3rd. And I think Winnipeg could honestly push them for 4th.
Yeah, I agree. They're moving the wrong direction for sure.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
We're going to take our second period break here as Chevalier Mortgage, one of our newest sponsors, is in town. Mike and Virginia Chevalier are not only diehard Broncos fans, but they're proud CSU alums as well, and they've supported us at DNVR for a long time as members. They're a husband and wife team with over 15 years of financial services experience. If you're wondering if rates are as good as you're hearing, you need to call them. There are some incredible rates right now. You can call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578 or visit DNVRmortgage.com. When you go to the website, you can sign yourself up to win a free DNVR shirt or hat and get a free consultation as well. They can save you hundreds to thousands of dollars a month in interest over the life of your loan. So why not save a little bit of money and hit these two up? They can help you find whatever you need when it comes to the loan financing market and probably reduce or even eliminate your current mortgage insurance premiums. Again, be sure to hit these guys up at dnvrmortgage.com. You can hit up Mike or Virginia, whoever you prefer, and they will hook you up with everything you need to know with a free consultation at Chevalier Mortgage. Michael Chevalier, NMLS 1931006, Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Moving on to the St. Louis Blues. This team is in kind of a weird spot, right? They won the Cup 2 years ago. They, for the most part, were able to keep the band together until this offseason, losing Alex Pietrangelo.
They're interesting because, when they won the Cup, we said, hey, this is who their roster is. They're locked into these guys.
Yep.
When did they give Braden Shen that contract? Is that new?
It's not super new.
I must have just missed it because it was signed on October 4th of 2019. Anyway, this is like we had talked about, hey, all their guys are signed. They've already signed their whole forward core is good to go. The only guy that they hadn't signed was Pietrangelo. We swap out Pietrangelo for Torrey Krug.
It's a downgrade.
It's a downgrade, but like Torrey Krug is really good in his own right. So let's not, the bottom didn't fall out here.
Sure.
It's kind of like the opposite of Vegas going from Schmidt to Pietrangelo.
Yeah, I would say it's the other direction for sure.
Yeah, like very, very similar distance of move.
Yep.
They're okay. Like you look at the talent on the team and they're solid-ish. Like they were never overwhelming in talent, but
their main problem is going to be the same one they had last year, and their best goal scorer in Tarasenko is not healthy.
Yeah. And now you don't have Jake Allen.
Yep.
And I know that's kind of funny to say because for a long time we were like, Jake Allen. But that dude really helped them last year.
Steadying presence as the secondary goalie for sure. And we talked about the Bennington conversation as well. Certainly, he struggled in the second half of last year, and he's ride or die now. There is no other option for St. Louis.
And into the postseason.
Yep.
And as of right now, just this very moment, what we can see, I would expect them to go and get one of these veteran goaltenders that's still sitting out on the market somewhere.
Yeah.
But until they do, Ville Husso as a backup has to scare the shit out of you.
You would think so. And
they went and they signed John Gillies, but it's like
if the expectation is that Tarasenko is going to get healthy for them in the regular season, they have work to do because they only have $1 million in cap space. They still have to sign Vince Dunn. If they want to go out and get a goalie too, yeah, they're fine with Tarasenko on LTIR, but
Well, and they currently have Steen there as well. Which had to be new.
Steen might just be the old LTI retired, I think.
Yeah,
but
I think it is too. Last year of his deal, and it's like, he's been there for such a long time, and it's like, okay, well, we don't want to buy you out. We'll pay you. The salary is lower this year. It's a 3.5 salary.
Yep.
He hasn't been any good for them for a couple of years.
Yep.
So it's like, just go away, please. Because that's where the Vince Dunn money is going to come from, is from Steen's LTIR. And, when Tarasenko comes back, that's, whatever they have left over.
They got to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the Dunn contract will be important because right now they're locked into their defense has 3 guys signed for 4 years, and that's Marco Scandella, Justin Falk, and Torrey Krug.
And that is not stellar.
Yeah. And Parayko's a UFA. He's signed for 2 years, so you're not too concerned about it.
But he's going to get paid when that 2 years is up.
Right, and that's a lot of money to be locked into your defense when he's going to get, Colton Parayko is going to get a raise.
Yep. So they're teetering on the brink of what happens to teams after they win cups.
Yeah, definitely. And like right now we talk about cost efficiency and how Colorado has to maximize that. They with David Perron having the seasons that he's had for them the last couple of years.
They're getting by,
60-point season for $4 million.
Yep.
That's huge for them because they've got $5 million invested in Tyler Bozak for 30 points.
Yep.
They are still a team that is very has an identity. This is how they're going to beat you. They're going to beat you with all 12 forwards.
For sure.
They're going to, Robert Thomas is their best young player.
They get a good amount of scoring by committee.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked Ryan O'Reilly is not a high-end 1C.
Yep.
He's a picture perfect 2C. But as a 1C, we saw when they won the cup, they got the absolute best in O'Reilly's career by a mile. They got the best.
Yep. And it hasn't been close since.
Yeah. And, you know, he continues to be really good for them. But kind of like with Nashville, if that's the best you have to offer at the game's maybe the most important position of first line center.
Yeah.
Man. And now they lose on the back end. Like they always had Alex Pietrangelo back there to steady them. And now, you know, their best defenseman now is probably Colton Parayko, who part of what made him amazing and so effective is that he could feast. They could pick matchups between Parayko and Pietrangelo. They don't have that luxury anymore. Now Parayko's got to eat
every 100% of the tough minutes now.
Yep. 100% of it because they don't have anybody else. Like they should probably go in with Parayko, Krug, and then Falk, Scandella.
There you go, AJ. Your music pick paid off.
Nice.
But yeah, the Blues again, and this is the trend we're starting to see. Every team except for Colorado and maybe Winnipeg, which we're about to get into here, is trending the wrong direction in the Central Division. So yeah, it feels like it's pretty wide open for the Abs to step into the best team in the Central Division right now. There's just way too many what ifs there, Jeremy. There's no way you can extrapolate that accurately. But
yeah,
moving on,
I would say probably not.
Moving on to Winnipeg, most of their free agency moves were kind of just retaining what they have. They brought back DeMello. They brought back Beaulieu. They went out and got some minor guys. They brought in Forbort. They brought in XAB, Dominic Toninato. But their big move was in the trade market where they go and reacquire Paul Stastny. Yeah.
And they're not done. They're going to move Roslovic somewhere for something.
Yeah.
I think that's probably... I would say that right now, a Roslovic for Mackenzie Weegar swap straight up with Florida makes the most sense.
Sure. Find something so you don't have to start Luca freaking Spiza.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to play Lucas Pizza. That's just not... That's not a guy that you actually want playing NHL minutes for you.
Yeah.
Fun fact, did you know he was drafted with the Adam Foote pick?
I did not know that.
Yeah. When the Avs traded that first rounder to Columbus for Foote.
Yep.
That ended up that ended up being Lucas Pizza.
Being a defenseman who would kill for Adam Foote, half of Adam Foote, to be honest.
And that was a very close call to that being the Matt Duchene pick going to Columbus.
Yep.
That was a very, very close call. So anyway, out of that rabbit hole.
They have no cap space. That's why they need to move some guys. However, they do have Brian Little on permanent LTIR at this point.
Yeah, he'll be on LTIR for this season for sure. So they really don't have as much of a cap problem as they do a cash problem, but they're managing it just fine. I'm surprised that they don't have deals for Niku and Harkins already. I would expect one of these guys on their current NHL roster probably loses a job to Sami Niku at some point, but
yeah, you would think so.
They're also, probably don't need Cole Perfetti this year.
I mean, it seems like it's pretty easy for them to jump into him next year. They have Lowry as a UFA. They have Perreault as a UFA. A lot of guys that he could step in and replace in 21-22.
A Uyghur, I hadn't seen Friedman's thing about Uyghur and Jost, but that would have made a lot of sense before Taves. That would have made a lot of sense, actually. Mackenzie Uyghur is really underrated.
I mean, I think Taves is significantly better. But...
Oh, yeah. The move they made was way better than what Uyghur for Jost would have been, but it would have been a fair move for both sides. But anyway...
Well,
sorry.
that's
I hadn't seen that. That's actually interesting.
If we're going down that rabbit hole, if you're going out and getting a Mackenzie Weegar, that's the guy you have to not be afraid to sit to play Bowen Byram, I think. Whereas with Taves, you say you load that guy up in your top 4 and you don't worry about it. You sit someone else.
Yeah.
So it makes the decisions a little bit easier, I think, going out and getting a Taves.
Yeah. Well, and Taves is like a surefire top 4 guy for you.
Exactly.
And Weegar is like we really like his analytics.
Maybe he's
yeah. It's very Burakovsky-esque.
Yeah.
But for the defenseman side. Whereas getting Taves is like, nope, we're going to pull a really good top 4 defender off of one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. We're just going to put him in our lineup. So, and it's kind of funny. Jost, his value actually, in my opinion, went up this offseason simply because he's cheap.
Yep.
And in a market where money is an extreme problem for everybody,
teams, yep.
A cost-efficient player that's, if just whatever his qualifying offer was, I should really just look at it someday. But if like his,
just the value,
if he's $1 million player and he goes out there and he scores 10 goals and gives you 15 assists, you've gotten it's very cost efficient.
Yep.
And that's teams are desperate for cost efficiency right now. I should say they're desperate for $1 million NHL players.
Yeah, cheap NHL players at any cost, a little bit, it seems like. But this is, look, here's what Winnipeg has going for them, right? Their goalie position is solved for the foreseeable future. They don't have to worry about that at all. They have still a strong top 6 as long as, even with Brian Little out of the picture, they have big pieces there, given that they haven't moved Patrick Laine. You're not worried about them continuing to produce on the top end.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel to me like they rounded out extremely well. Yes, adding Paul Stastny to that forward core is great, but I don't know. They feel like they're still a couple pieces away from really contending to me.
Definitely. Like Paul Stastny 2 years ago as your 2C was completely fine. Paul Stastny today as your 2C is going to be a much tougher sell, but definitely better than what they have. And their top 6 is kind of set now, and it's very good. They've got to figure out what to do in that bottom 6.
Yeah. And
defensively, like Dylan DeMello was a revelation last year, but they gave that guy a 4-year deal at $3 million. They need him to be a revelation times 2. Like
I don't mind the DeMello deal, but
they just need him to work out. Like that's a career journeyman who's been dying for opportunity. He got one last year. He played really well. He earned a contract. Now he has to live up to a contract. What happens when the carrot of security is no longer dangled in front of him? He has it now. Now let's see how he responds.
It's just not the biggest question to me in their defense.
It's definitely not. But Neil Pionk is the same thing. He's got to go and do it again.
100%.
Josh Morrissey has to have a much better year than he did last year. He just wasn't very good.
He has to prove that he's a legitimate top pairing D, or they're in trouble if Morrissey doesn't. But
because between like their top pairing is probably Morrissey and Pionk.
Yep.
Or DeMello if depending on how they want to do it. And then after that,
I think it's Pionk, but yeah.
After that, you're having a conversation about a whole bunch of guys who are journeymen and third pairing guys.
Yep.
Nathan Beaulieu is fine. I've always liked him, but he's a third pairing guy. Derek Forport, third pairing guy. Lucas Pizza shouldn't even be in the NHL. Tucker Poolman shouldn't even be in the NHL. So they are in trouble.
The Avs have been there a couple years ago. Building that defense, especially the bottom of it, is tough.
Yeah. To answer some of these questions, just because I was satiating my own curiosity, Tyson Jost's qualifying offer is $874,125.
So that's dirt cheap.
So if somehow the Avs convinced that dude to take that deal,
You're done here. Yep.
That's so cheap.
For a dude who's going to give you 25 to 30 points.
Yeah, and at that money next year, not on an ELC anymore. You're like, okay, what it gives me.
Yep.
Let's tackle this real quick. The chat wants to know power rankings for the Central Division next year.
Colorado 1.
Yeah, I think it's Colorado 1 pretty easily.
I'm going to give St. Louis the benefit of the doubt at 2.
Same.
And then I think it's probably Winnipeg at 3.
Really?
Yeah. I think Nashville's going to bottle it again. I don't think Saros can get them to where they need to be.
I was thinking maybe Dallas there.
I have Dallas at 4.
Okay.
I think Winnipeg is going to jump Dallas. I expect Dallas to look like the regular season Dallas at the end of the season last year, honestly.
If Winnipeg gets the same goaltending from Hellebuck, I agree with you.
Okay, that's fair.
Otherwise, I think Dallas is 3.
Sure. I have Dallas 4. I'm assuming you have Winnipeg 4.
I do.
So there you go. I'm going to put Nashville 5.
Yeah, same.
And then Chicago 6, Minnesota 7, because Minnesota's going to suck. I think we agree on that.
Yeah, I think Minnesota is headed for a bottom 5 season in the NHL.
I agree. Chicago's kind of the wild card. If Kane and Taves have career years, they're always going to be competitive. But
see, I think Chicago, my baseline for them is about 80 points, and if they do 10 points better or 10 points worse,
right, I totally see that. Yeah,
I could see either one of those.
Volatile team.
Yeah, I don't see for Chicago. I don't see them absolutely bottoming out unless
like
they just can't
break the
get
bone or something.
Goaltending.
Yeah,
like if they as a team, if they can't even get 900 goaltending, because they are rolling the dice on a total unknown in Lankinen and then knowns in Subban and Delia as
low
not
end backups.
as not NHL starters. So the goaltending is the only thing that makes me maybe want to put Chicago below Minnesota. But from from a talent perspective, you're just ranking talent and not how it might, because like if they get 890 goaltending, I don't care who your forwards are. Your forwards could be Team Canada. You're not winning.
Yeah. True enough.
So, like it just undoes all of it. Scoring is just too hard in the NHL that if you're just giving up 4 freebies a night, you're just not going to win games. But I think definitely from just a raw talent, Minnesota's definitely last. Chicago's right there. Goaltending, I think, is going to be the big X factor. I think that our 3, 4, and 5 are very close together.
Yes.
Any order of finishing,
someone goes on a hot streak in that middle section, and they're talking about the 3rd seed in the West or in the Central. Yeah.
And we saw it this year. Those teams went on streaks. Each one of those teams had hot streaks, and they all finished within a couple of points of each other.
Had the season played out, there were a lot of people saying Winnipeg was going to catch Dallas. So
they were going to. Dallas had totally fallen apart, and I think they were only 2 points back at the end.
Yep.
So it was like they had caught them essentially, because it was like Dallas and Colorado were sprinting for home ice.
Yep.
Behind St. Louis, and then those 3 teams were all going up, and then
Dallas hit the cliff. Yeah.
Dallas, the other 2 teams just kept going up, and Dallas just stayed. They just put the car in neutral.
Yep.
While everybody else was still going forward, they were in neutral. And that's one reason, like, had that season finished, like Dallas, we're talking about Dallas is like maybe like a 90-point team, 92-point team. Like they were not. Which is another reason why it's like, look, dude, they made the Cup Finals.
Yep. You get hot goaltending, you catch some breaks, and anything can happen.
They caught so many breaks.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Matt Tkachuk injured in the first round. Colorado's injuries. Then they got the hot goaltending out of Khudobin. I think he had a 950 in that series.
It was absurd. And then they ran into an absolute buzzsaw. But
and then what should have happened to them against Colorado happened to them in the final.
Yep.
So it is what it is. But I'm always going to look back at that Dallas run and just be mystified at how it happened. It made no sense whatsoever. It went against all the things that like you think you know about how to be successful on an extended period of time.
Yep. When you're hot, you're hot. I don't know.
COVID Cup was weird, man.
Strange times.
I'm so excited for next season, though.
Same.
Especially like we just went through the division, and this is the first time
where you feel confident about the Avs being number one.
Exactly. And certainly in my time covering the Avs professionally, that I definitely feel Colorado is the runaway most talented team in the division.
This is really the first year or I guess last season was the first year in like 7-8 years where you're like, this should be a playoff team 100%.
Oh yeah. Like this should be a top 3 in the division team easily. And they were.
Yep.
Like they were. They were 2 points behind being first place in the West. They were second in the West.
Yep.
And they were headed to be the 3rd seed.
And they got better.
Yeah, you look at where we're talking about some of the trade-offs that like Nashville made. You know, their bottom 6 got a lot better, but their top 6 got a lot worse for right now without
knowing the future is a different story, but
like if they add Mike Hoffman, I think that helps. I think that's actually a great fit for them. They're just a pure goal scorer. Problem is he's terrible defensively, so that's not going to go well for them. That aspect of it, but the only team in the Central Division that I think has like Dallas didn't do anything to make themselves worse. They just stayed exactly the same.
Yep.
Colorado's the only team that I think has clearly moved forward. The only guy they've lost off their NHL roster that they can't like replace is Zadorov.
They got Taze,
right, but I mean, I
understand stylistically very.
Yes, sure. That's what I'm saying.
But if you're talking about skill level, you moved out Zadorov and you brought in a top 4D. On the front side, you lost Nieto and Nemesnikov, but you brought in Brandon Saad, a top 6 forward.
And you're going to replace the bottom 6 guys internally with young kids that you think are better.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same thing is happening on the defense. Like you lose Kevin Connaughton, you're replacing him with Bowen Byram. Giggle, 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 giggle.
Exactly. So,
this is actually a great question from Jay. They've talked about the all Canadian division if they won't because of the border being a problem when they start next season. Yeah. If Colorado and Vegas are in the same division, who's the best team?
I think it's still Colorado.
I think it's really close, though.
But yeah, they are 1-2 by the razor's edge.
Forward core, I give to Colorado.
Yes, for sure.
The McKinnon Kadri combination puts them ahead, but also Rantanen kind of like it's like Rantanen negates Stone, and
we talked about it a little bit. If they somehow had Nate Schmidt still and Alex Pietrangelo, I think I'd probably give it to Vegas.
But So defensively, do you give it to Vegas because of Pietrangelo? They have that bona fide top end guy that Colorado doesn't.
Ask again after we've seen 40 games of Byram.
Ask again after we've seen 40 games of year 2 Cale Makar.
That too, yeah.
We have seen in every single place, every single stop of Makar's career
has been baller.
The second year, he absolutely destroyed the AJHL.
Yep.
Won every single award imaginable in the AJHL. In the second year of his college career, he leads UMass to the national championship.
He was like, what, 2 points away from being the first defenseman ever to win the scoring title in
Yes.
NCAA.
Yep. So year 2 Cale Makar has always been a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see, like, we kind of, like, we're talking about, like, Bowen Buck, Devon Taves, but year 2 Cale Makar has a chance to take the leap from historic rookie season to, okay, well, it's really cute that he finished 8th place in Norris voting. Now he's winning the Norris,
Right.
like, that's a realistic possibility of him taking a leap like that.
And Jay alludes to the problem here. Assuming Robin Lehner is healthy,
Yeah.
Vegas has a big edge in the goaltending position.
Big?
Medium large. How about that?
I think I disagree.
You don't think Lehner's that big of a difference over Grubauer?
If they're both healthy, no. Look, I tell you, I think Lehner's better.
I think there's a good 1/10 of a save percentage difference there.
Yeah, but you're talking about that's a goal difference. And maybe that's the difference in the series. Look, it was the difference the one time that they played each other in the bubble.
Right.
It was 1 save's difference. I get that. But I don't know that Fleury current present form Fleury. I don't know that he has much of an upgrade over Francouz. I would probably call that a wash today.
Honestly, I'm not even worried about talking about backup goalies. That's something you deal with in the season. If you're talking about teams best on best.
Well, I'm talking about if they end up in a division together because they have to change the divisions for the season. Like, who's going for the first seed? Backups are going to matter.
I don't think when you say backups matter and you have arguably the 2 best teams in the division playing each other, they're not going to play their backups against each other.
That's not what I mean. I'm talking about in a 50-game season.
I know what you're saying. What you're saying.
You're talking about a playoff series, and I'm talking about trying to get home ice advantage.
But I don't. Assuming you have a solid backup, which I think both of these teams do,
I would agree.
It's more about how you activate your backups, how you use them, than, like you said, if their talent is a wash, that's a strategy thing more than the players themselves.
I think where I would put it is we didn't decide which team has a better goaltending, or I'm sorry, a better defense advantage here. Because I think they're different.
Yeah. The Vegas's problem is their depth sucks.
If Colorado is seriously playing Poe and Barham on their third pairing, you have to take Colorado's pairing.
Yep.
Or their depth.
Right. Because Vegas is going to be playing Zach Whitecloud and Nick Holden. So.
Yeah. True.
Which those are NHL dudes, but they don't have the upside.
Right. But it's like Graves and Cole.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Colorado's advantage at forward is bigger than Vegas's advantage in net.
Yeah. I mean,
especially with the addition of Saad, because I really liked.
It's tough. What are they going to get this year at Marchessault? I think is a big question for Vegas.
I think side. I think Vegas's problem is that those guys are good,
not great,
and like they have, Stone and Pacioretty. Stone is amazing,
yeah,
and Pacioretty is very good, and then William Karlsson, like the drop off happens fast. William Karlsson is very good, ish. I mean, I struggle with Karlsson as a 1C because I think he's so. He's not a 1C. Straight up, like
William Karlsson was not even on a 20-goal pace last year.
Well, and
that's what I'm saying. Can they get? They're never going to get the point per game William Karlsson they got their first year, but can they get a 60-point player William Karlsson?
Yeah, who they got their second year. And
Right.
like he was fine, but now he's gone from 78 to 56 to 46. Now, granted, the 46, you tack on another 10 games there, and who knows, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that he's declined each of those years. He's gone from 43 goals to 24 to 15.
Yep. And like I said, even in an 82 game season, he was on pace for less than 20 this year.
Yeah.
So.
And then taking Stastny out as the kind of the stabilizer at 2C, now they're relying on Cody Glass.
Yep. Some uncertainty there.
Anyway. Well, and like, does Peyton Krebs make the jump? This is why I'm taking Colorado's forward core and saying that their advantage is bigger, because the difference between Nathan McKinnon and William Karlsson is gigantic.
Yeah, for sure.
And the difference between Nazem Kadri and pick a second line center for Vegas is arguably even bigger. Without knowing for sure what Cody Glass is going to be yet, then as of today, I think that the difference is pretty freaking big. And then like Comfer and Belmar, Jost, whatever, whoever ends up the centers in the bottom six, I think is probably pretty close to a wash.
Yeah.
But I tell you, man, just at the top of that, they're built from the wing in. And that's how many times do we see teams struggle with that?
I do wonder how much Pietrangelo helps them offensively there.
I think he helps like the power play.
You think not that much of a difference 5-on-5?
I think he helps them. They were already really good at driving play. And so I think he just makes them better.
Yeah.
In the same way that Taves and Saad just make Colorado better at what they already did.
Yeah.
And I think that Vegas is Schmidt was good at that. Like he was he was solid at that.
He wasn't Pietrangelo though.
Right. And Pietrangelo certainly makes them better at it. Shea Theodore obviously one more year, much better. Alec Martinez on their second pairing next to who exactly is really the question.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I think the easiest way to do it is just to say, screw it. Let's drop these two teams in the West Conference Finals and let them figure it out.
Just duke it out. I'm all for it.
I kind of want it because I think they're the two best teams and I want to see it, but I kind of don't because Vegas has existed for 3 years and they've gone to the conference finals twice.
Yeah.
And
that's all right. Avs need to face Vegas in the second round and eliminate them. And then Vegas will have been eliminated in every round of the playoffs in their first 4 years of existence.
There you go. And then year 5, they can miss altogether.
Yeah, exactly. And then they've had the whole spectrum.
Yeah. And then year 6, maybe they can win it. Just kidding. It's Colorado's Cup.
The next 3.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You look at the West. Is there anybody else out West that you're really...
No.
Nobody from the Pacific that you're afraid of outside of Vegas? You're not afraid of Vancouver?
Honestly, no. Especially Markstrom walked. I mean, that's a big old bet on Thatcher Demko.
I would be a lot more nervous about Edmonton because I really like the offseason that they had.
If they weren't Edmonton?
Not even just that, man, but Koskinen and Smith again.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not going to have Clefbaum probably either.
Yeah, and Clefbaum, that's where I was saying yesterday. Maybe they try and make a move for Ian Cole. An Ian Cole-ish type dude.
Sure.
If that,
a dude they can pick up for 1 year, yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously Ian Cole's not Oscar Clefbaum.
But they need a defense.
But are they for some reason they don't appear excited to let Evan Bouchard make the leap. So if they want one more year to baby him and have him play down in Bakersfield, then that's where you're, maybe you get an Ian Cole type.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a Ryan Graves type.
Yeah, Vancouver's D sucks. Not worried about it.
Right. I'm out west. I'm kind of just like I think the Pacific is so unknown.
Yeah.
I think San Jose, if San Jose gets good goaltending, I think they'll be competitive. They had a lot of injuries last year that really sunk them. And they have a lot of top-end guys that I think could still make some noise.
Look, there's plenty of teams in the Pacific that can make noise, but in a series, if I'm the Avs, I'm not worried about them.
Yeah. Calgary hadn't done anything to get better.
Yeah, no. That team's bad.
I mean, they've lost a ton on the back end. They lost TJ Brody, and they replaced with Chris Tanev, who's not very good anymore.
Yep.
So
yeah, Anaheim's irrelevant.
Markstrom could really help them, though. Like, Markstrom could be a big thing for Calgary. Yeah, on that contract, he freaking better be, man.
Right. They went all in on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I think I think there are solid teams out west, but again, this did not materialize into the West Arms race that we're kind of accustomed to.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Colorado and Vegas. It ended up being the teams at the top. Colorado, Vegas, and St. Louis all made the biggest additions out west. It's just that St. Louis's biggest addition came
after the biggest loss.
After the biggest loss, who then went to Vegas. Yeah. So, yeah. I just the best teams got better or came close to it. Like St. Louis is sort of like they got worse, but they managed it as best as they possibly could have.
The rich get richer, and that helps the Avs for once.
Yeah. Yeah. The Avs in Vegas decided not to pay taxes this year, and it was fine. All the other teams had to pay the COVID tax.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up the Central. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just bullshitting.
Yeah. Our shows have been long lately, so
yeah. Well, we're getting right on the precipice of, oh God, we have nothing to talk about. We're going to go back to 38-minute shows.
True. True. Very true. So we got to get it out while we still can.
Yeah.
We are going to get out of here for the day, though, of course, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there with a bunch of amazing, awesome bets. They have different odds boosts every single day. So if you're looking to make a little bit of extra cash on your bets, always be sure to check those. And if you're a new user, they're bringing back their offer of a bonus of up to $1,000 when you sign up with code DNVR. Be sure to jump on that and get your money to play with. A bunch of other boosts as well. They always have football boosts where you can bet on whoever coming up in week 6 now that week 5 is properly over. And if you want to get crazy with your bets, they offer all sorts of crazy stuff, whether it be esports, basketball in Europe, hockey in Europe, you name it. You can bet on just about anything. Basketball in particular, you get a 200% profit boost on any bet you make on basketball right now. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get that $1,000 bonus. Again, DNVR is the promo code for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonus comprises of a first deposit bonus and first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25x playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Thank you for watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. We appreciate y'all hanging out and asking questions. We're happy to answer them. So if you want to get at us, hang out at the end of a show and be in the YouTube chat. Until tomorrow, we will talk to y'all later.